Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. The man who predicted $10,000 gold says inflation is transitory. Let's explore. Upon reading that title, one can make an inference that, well, if he was wrong about $10,000 gold, more than likely, why should we pay attention with his prediction saying that inflation is transitory? Well, looking back at this person who made this prediction about $10,000 gold, I don't remember the exact nuanced discussion or how that prediction came about. But I'm sure a lot of it was based off of ifs, thens, or buts, or what have you, at this condition, or, there's a lot of different factors that come into play when making predictions like that in order to save their credibility. I typically don't listen to a lot of these analysts because of things like that, making predictions based off of certain factors where they can kind of save themselves in the end. For those of you familiar with my channel, I make predictions too, but I don't take any of my predictions seriously. However, there's a lot of thought and insight that goes in to some of these analysts who may have experience in the banking sector and in the world of finance. And I respect this individual because he does speak in nuance. And so when he's talking about inflation being transitory, well, it had me thinking, what is going on here from this interview that I heard? And I'm talking about Jim Rickards. We know, for those of you familiar with a lot of these analysts out there, there are many who are familiar with that prediction. And maybe some of you can shed some light on that prediction as to what the conditions were in order for that to happen. And maybe he didn't put a time limit on when it was going to occur, leaving it somewhat open-ended. So that leaves me a little bit open-minded. Things can be open-ended and be open-minded. I make predictions as well, although, as you know, I don't take my predictions very seriously, and I don't stake my reputation on my predictions because I've opened myself to being wrong. I've been wrong in the past. There's times when I'm right, too. In fact, some would say that a clock is right twice a day, and so therefore, I like to think that I have a little bit of insight in the markets. But I think people like Jim Rickards and others have a lot more insight and have studied it. That's part of their career. It's not mine. I'm just a guy on YouTube. I'm not a financial advisor. However, Jim Rickards has made some correct predictions in the past that have come true, but not necessarily associated with gold or silver's price. I think it's kind of almost impossible to really get that right without just random chance in a case. You can make an educated guess, but I digress. But he does make some good arguments about inflation being transitory. And the way he explained it, I think, was kind of the most honest way that I could think of it coming, understanding his ideology, which I think is fairly close to my ideology. And I think it's all about being intellectually honest. And when you take that into account, it gives you some idea of kind of where we are at. And there's certain measures for these types of things. And he talks about those measures. But I think he's missing some things as well, at least from what I understand on it, and that about inflation. Now, we all know that as the Federal Reserve keeps their modern monetary theory alive, quantitative easing and the printing of money, sooner or later that's going to come back to bite us in one way or another. But a lot of it also has to do with the velocity of money as well. And he kind of talks about that in a written piece that he did a while ago. Didn't reference it in this interview that I saw with him, but he talks about what are known as the base effects. And I think that is something that one must take into account when you measure inflation, because it's year over year, from one month to the next. And last year was a very unusual year. There was a lot less economic activity. Things dropped like crazy. Oil, for instance, went negative $38 a barrel. You may remember I posted a video about that. $38 a barrel. That's not that's pretty small. You know, that means somebody would have to pay negative $38 a barrel. That means somebody would have to pay you to store that oil. And other things went down too. Silver we saw go down below $12 an ounce. That's the closest thing to a crash that I can think of. And then within several months, it doubled in price, for the spot price, that is. But there's certain measures for what it is, and Mr. Rickers talks about this in the interview. But I think one thing he is leaving out is what I referred to as supply chain inflation, and that is the inflation that's caused by the natural market force of supply and demand. If you can't get the supply fast enough or quick enough, even if there's a lot of it there, like we saw with the lumber shortage, well, prices are going to go up. And we've seen that also with the pipeline hack that occurred. Well, that stopped the flow of oil, and gasoline prices went up during that time as well too. Gasoline prices are still going up. There's so many different factors that can come into play that can affect inflation other than just printing money. And we got to understand that money that's being printed is a lot of it is not being injected into the economy as of yet. You've got employment. We've got other factors that are coming into play. We have other organizations that measure the inflation rate, and we don't measure it like we used to measure before in the 1980s. So that is something we have to take into account as well too. But he's of the feeling that once we get into August and September, which is just right around the corner, when they measure inflation again, based off of last year in August and September, we started to see improvements in the economy, or economic activity. I'll put it to you that way. The economy as a whole overall, I think, was in many ways in trouble before the coronavirus hit. And we also have the repurchase agreements that were done between the banks that we talked about that happened between September and December 2019, which is before the pandemic. There's a lot of areas where there's a lot of reasons to be worried. Now, he thinks that once September and August and September numbers come out for inflation, we'll start to see it essentially go away. Now, he doesn't mean that inflation's not going to come back and that all of this money printing will cause any harm. It will, but a lot of that velocity of money has got to go back to the Fed. Eventually could, if it's not spent, what happened? Will they take it out of circulation again? That could occur. That's essentially deflation, and he believes in deflation, and there are different theories about that, the inflation versus deflation. Either case, stagflation, and there's several different names for it, and a decreased inflation that could possibly occur as well. All of it could cause for economic instability. This is why I refer to silver and gold as a hedge against economic instability, because deflation can be a bad thing too. And by the way, deflation can cause the price of gold to either go up or silver to go up or go down, but not as far down as a dollar could decrease, or what have you. In other words, the prices of things, the prices of goods and services may plummet, and that could cause a big problem, by the way, which is kind of called the deflationary bubble to pop, and which could reverse into a hyperinflationary stance. And I think that's where Jim Rickard's mind is on this. But there's different views, there's different philosophies on this, and he feels like in a way he's in the minority on this. But I thought it was a very interesting interview that he gave on this topic, and how that could affect or not gold and silver prices. I mean, either way, the result is the same. The fundamentals have not changed. Gold and silver are strong. We will continue to accumulate these metals to save us from economic instability. And also, one cool thing about having gold and silver is whether it's genuine or not. And somebody said I should try this pocket pinger. So I'm going to try this pocket pinger on this Gold Eagle to see what it sounds like. because they say it gives a pretty cool sound with a gold eagle, because it's got the alloy of silver in it specifically. So let's take a look and see if what this sounds like. That's pretty cool. It's still ringing. Ringing in my head. Yeah, or ticking in my head. That's actually an Anthrax song. Let's try it one more time. So there you have it. This is a great way to test for the ring of silver and gold for known silver products, the Pocket Pinger. And for those of you who are interested in this, it's a very cheap way, very well built polymer device here, just to test for the sound compared to a fake gold or silver coin. And I will post the link to this referral link to purchase this. Pretty neat little device for those of you who are interested. I did a video on it a while back, and so I thought I would do a little test for gold, because I didn't test any gold coins with it before. So anyways, there you have it. So I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.